Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1334B, and today's date is July 17th, 2017, and the title of the episode is Russia is Using a Unique Strategy in the Middle East. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, we understand that the corporate media, they are still pushing the Russian narrative. They really don't want to give up on this. And every time they come out with it, they're proven to be completely wrong every single time. Now, we understand and we're starting to realize that this Trump Jr. meeting, well, it's starting to look like it was a setup by the deep state, by the Obama administration, along with the Clintons. And we're starting to see that these key players were all part of their organizations, and there were deals made, and it allowed them to get a FISA warrant. And the New York Times, they came out with their article, explaining the whole thing and who all the players were. We had the Russian lawyer Natalia. We had this other Russian with dual citizenship who was a lobbyist in the United States government. And they also mentioned this translator who was there during the meeting translating what was being said. And the Times, well, they didn't provide any background on the translator beyond reporting his name and that he translates. That's it. But when we look further into this individual, and this individual's name is Samo Kornov, well, we find out that this Russian translator worked on behalf of the State Department, including during Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. And he was present at the meeting, but they left this part out. They just mentioned his name. They didn't go into any type of background. Now, he is also the product manager at the Meridian International Center, which describes itself as a nonprofit global leadership organization headquartered in Washington, D.C. The Meridian is a principal partner of the U.S. State Department. He worked on behalf of the State Department purportedly while he was at Meridian. The timeline of his work at Meridian includes the period when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. And this is very interesting because his job and what he did, well, he represented the U.S. government in securing cooperation of key U.S. resources in the corporate, governmental, and NGO community. He collaborated with the U.S. and international aid agencies and stakeholders on devising business plans and training workshops on a variety of different topics, and was listed as the program administrator for the State Department's International Visitor Leadership Program, which is implemented by Meridian. So once again, we have another connection to the Clinton, to the Obama administration, and as we start putting a lot of these pieces together, we're starting to realize now that this entire operation was created and brought about to basically frame Trump Jr. Because think about it. They went into the meeting and they said they had all this information on Hillary Clinton, and there was nothing. And then there was a translator there. There was a lobbyist there, because the real agenda was not about that. They were sent in there for that, but the real agenda was about something completely different. The Magnitsky Act. And the Obama administration, at this point in time, used this to go for a warrant to say, see, he's meeting with Russians. He didn't ask for the meeting. These people were approaching him for a specific purpose. And when we start breaking it down, we can see what that purpose was. It was to entrap Trump Jr. Now, it looks like CNN is out there, well, creating fake news once again. And we talked about this before, where they came out and they said Russia did the hacking on Qatar, and this is what started the whole thing because they released the information to the other Gulf nations, and even the U.S. intelligence community confirmed that, yes, it was Russia who did the hacking. Now, the Washington Post is out there, And they're saying, well, no, it looked like it was the United Arab Emirates that actually was hacking Qatar, that was releasing the information. It wasn't Russia. And you could see the headline from CNN. It says CNN exclusive, U.S. suspects Russian hackers planted fake news behind Qatar crisis. Now, remember, the FBI sent a team of investigators to the Qatari government. They investigated the alleged hacking incident, and the intelligence gathered by the U.S. security agencies indicates that Russia was the hacking force that did all of this. Now, since the Washington Post said, no, we've done some research here, and it looks like it was the United Arab Emirates. They orchestrated the hacking of the Qatari government. Now, this is very interesting because the U.S. intelligence, the CIA, well, they flip-flopped now, and they said, yeah, it wasn't Russia, it was the UAE. Now, why would they flip-flop all of a sudden when they were so sure it was Russia? So, within a month, they just changed their story. Now, supposedly they had all this proof. Supposedly they had all this information. Now, was it really the UAE? No, most likely it was the intelligence agencies, maybe working with some of the Gulf nations. But we can see at this point, again, if you look this up and you saw this story, the fact checkers would say this is a true story. Anyone else who's looking at this story and saying it's not true, well, that would be the false story, which now once again shows that it's the other way around. And again, the intelligence community is controlling this. I mean, think about it. They went over there, they investigated, and they came out with their findings and said it was Russia. So what kind of investigation did they actually do? Well, they didn't do any, because they already knew who did it. It's actually them. Same thing with the hacking of anything that goes on here. Because remember, with the release of what WikiLeaks has shown us, they can pretend that it's any country. And especially Russia or Iran or anyone else. So, should we believe them anymore? Because we're starting to see the same pattern repeat over time. Now, out in North Korea and South Korea, we see that Moon Jae-in, well, he's taking the first step, and he is inviting North Korea to participate in military talks. Now, this is the first formal overture by the newly elected President Moon Jae-in. And this is a diplomatic outreach to say, listen, let's calm this down. Let's have our military speak to each other. Let's have cooperation. Now, we have to see what North Korea does. And a lot of these headlines that are coming out that Kim Jong-un wants to destroy Trump, Kim Jong-un is going to fire missiles into the United States and obliterate the United States, most of this is not coming from North Korea. Most of this is coming from the South Korean news agency or intelligence community pushing their agenda. Because when you really look at this and you look at the entire situation, you can see that all of this is being built up to bring us to the next stage, and that is war. That's what they want. But it looks like it is failing, and it's not going the way they want, because Russia was out there, the South Korean intelligence community was out there saying, yeah, the last missile test, that wasn't a ballistic missile. It was another medium-range missile, and we have the data that proves it. And the United States, what are they going to do? Are they going to say, no, we have the data too, and it's ballistic? Well, Russia said, prove it, show us the data. And that's where everything fell apart once again. Now, Finland, they are preparing for a Russian invasion because Russia is going to conduct their 2017 military exercise in September, and they're very worried about this because Russia might try some type of invasion, which is absolutely ridiculous. And right now, Finland's government, they are telling their citizens, their residents, that don't worry, we have our 124-mile worth of tunnels, passageways, and shelters that will protect you if Russia does attack. And these tunnels, they have these impregnable defensive doors that will shut. They're blast doors. They will seal the tunnels off and protect everyone. And we can see right now, this is just a scare tactic. First of all, if you look what Russia does, they do not attack anyone. They haven't. I mean, they said they were going to attack in 2013. Never happened. They were going to bring their armed forces into Ukraine and attack, and the Ukrainian puppet government was trying to prove that they were invading Ukraine, and that was never happening either. That they used their armed forces and they went in there with military force and they stole Crimea. No, Crimea, they voted to move their little section away from the puppet government that was put into place by the United States government central bankers, the deep state at the time. It was a coup d'etat led by the deep state. Now, we've heard all these rumors that Baghdadi was killed. There was confirmation. We heard of this last week. And now the Iraqis are out there saying, no, we're getting information that he's still alive. Do you know how many times this man has been killed? And like I said before, most likely because the Islamic State is losing in Syria, lost in Iraq. They're being obliterated in every other country. They lost their revenue. The deep state is struggling right now. Most likely, this individual, which I believe is a Mossad agent, went back into hiding, changed his appearance, and who knows where he is. They're saying he's hiding out in Raqqa. I think he's completely out of the country right now because the Islamic State is completely done. We see the Tiger forces of Syria. They have liberated more gas fields, key gas fields in Raqqa and in Homs, and they are marching across, obliterating and removing the Islamic State. And we can see that time is ticking down right now. Russia right now, their military has been deployed to the Daras Governorate today to begin their indefinite operation to monitor the ceasefire in southern Syria. And we can see that the Syrian opposition, the terrorist groups that United States deep state put together, well, they are feeling betrayed by the deep state because they signed the de-escalation agreement with Russia, and the deep state, the United States, is not working in the best interest for them. Well, once again, things are now changing. Now, Israel is very angry, and Israel is rejecting the ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Russia in the southern Syria area. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is out there saying that, listen, they said they were going to take our issues and look at them, and we will be involved. And right now, they haven't done this whatsoever, and we object to this ceasefire. Now, once again, what does Israel really have to do with this? Because isn't this an uprising of the rebels, an uprising of this grassroots group who are made up of Syrians? Oh, wait, it is not made up of Syrians. It's made up of paid mercenaries. I think maybe 5% is Syrian right now. The rest are just terrorist groups and paid mercenaries. So why is Israel involved in this? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, where they did this whole article on how Israel is supporting all these terrorist groups, funding them, housing them, clothing them, bringing them into hospitals, helping them out. This is why they have a vested interest, because this was all part of the entire plan. It was the coalition forces, the deep state, Israel, all involved in removing Assad. And they're seeing their plan being flushed down the toilet. Now, we need to understand the deep state, they're still pushing their mission. They don't care about the terrorist groups anymore. They don't care about the moderate rebels. They don't care about all of these forces, Al-Qaeda and the rest, because what they're doing right now is they're setting up these 8 to 9 bases, and they're trying to break off Syria and say this is going to be this Kurd area. Now, we need to understand what Russia is doing, because when we start to look closely at what their plan is, what their strategy is, it's very interesting. Now, we know the deep state, they're funding, they're bringing in weapons to the Kurds, they're trying to break Syria into 2. What has Russia done? Now, it looks like they've done nothing. But when you really look at what they've been doing, they've worked with Turkey. Now, remember, Turkey shot down a Russian jet that had no air-to-air missiles. It only had bombs to hit the ground. And after that, Russia was very angry, pissed off at Turkey. Turkey was working with the United States. And then slowly, Russia kind of won them over, made a deal with them to have the Turkish pipeline go through Turkey. Turkey started to work with Russia. And if you noticed, Russia really doesn't say much as Turkey has moved into Syria. And, this has been bothering me all along of why Russia is allowing this. Well, Turkey's mission, and we could see that Russia has worked with Turkey saying, listen, if you want this pipeline, if you want this deal, and you want us to forgive you for what you have done, you are going to need to work with us and do one thing. And that thing is make sure Syria is not broken into two. Now, Russia is not going to come out and attack the Kurdish people or attack the U.S. forces. Turkey has already designated the Kurdish group that the U.S. is backing now as a terrorist group. Now, does it matter if they are or not? No. Their mission is to make sure that the deep state doesn't split up Syria using the Kurds. This is why Turkey is out there, and they're bringing in military assets right now. This is why they're pushing them out of certain regions. This is why they're continually attacking and trying to stop this. This is Russia's strategy to stop this from happening. Now, if you look, Turkey has already warned publicly it was preparing for a military intervention in Syria. And they're accusing the U.S. of creating terrorist army because right now, Turkey is teamed up with Russia. The U.S. is trying to use the Kurds right now. And right now, the YPG forms a major part of the U.S.-backed campaign to capture the territory of Syria. And they're using this group. And right now, Turkey is saying, listen, we're coming in there. This is not going to happen. So we're going to have to watch how this plays out. And if you notice, Russia is staying back out of the picture, and they don't have to be involved in attacking the U.S. forces where the U.S. is arming this group, and they don't have to worry about Russia getting involved in this. And you can see this is part of their strategy to keep the deep state from breaking up Syria. And if you look, you can see that this is exactly what is happening right now. And we're going to have to see what the deep state does at this point, because, this could spark something else. There could be some type of false flag, and we could end up in war. But it's a strategy to stop all of this from happening. Is it going to work? We don't know. But we can see right now the deep state is on the run. They're paid mercenary groups. They are having a huge amount of trouble maintaining anything, and their entire organization, and I'm talking about the terrorist groups, the deep state, the intelligence community, it's all falling apart right in front of them. And of course, this is going to take a little bit more time, but we can see right now that the Islamic State has been removed out of Mosul. It's being wiped out in Afghanistan. It's being wiped out in Syria. And all these paid mercenary armies that the deep state has been using, they're disappearing right now. And once you cut off more and more of the funding, well, guess what? The deep state won't be able to do anything. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.